Welcome to our final webinar of today, the final day of Webtember, our month-long series. I'm Miriam Pierre-Louis, and you are watching Webtember presented by Legacy Family Tree Webinars. Our final webinar is brought to you with special thanks to MyHeritage. Our speaker this hour is Sharon Monson with Worth More Than Gold or Silver, MyHeritage's U.S. Naturalization Records, Northern California 1852 to 1989 collection. And Sharon is joining us live from the state of Utah. Sharon's syllabus is available to everyone, as this is a MyHeritage webinar. I put the link in the chat, and I will do that again just as soon as Sharon gets underway. Normally, our handouts would be a webinar benefit, but again, since this is a MyHeritage webinar, we're giving access to everyone for this. I'm pleased to welcome back to Legacy Family Tree Webinars Sharon Monson. Sharon is a professional genealogist, creator of the Genealogy Kit, and author of Shortcut to Genealogy. She's a frequent presenter at local, state, and national conferences. Her extensive research experience in courthouses, repositories, and the family history libraries spans 35 plus years. And you can find her blog at gensearchandmore.com. Please join me in putting our virtual hands together to give Sharon Monson a nice, warm webinar welcome. How are you, Sharon? Welcome to the webinar.
I'm doing fantastic.
Great. Well, this is a very special webinar, seeing that it's our final webinar of 2023 for the Webtember series. And your screen looks great, so the time is all yours, Sharon.
Thank you so much. I would like to welcome everybody again to this webinar for MyHeritage. The U.S. Naturalization Records Northern California collection covers a large number of years, but it's a card index that is all about immigrants, over 544,000 of them. And the span of this collection is 137 years. Now, these immigrants came to California for various reasons, but they took a chance for a new life as a U.S. citizen. That 137 years is a long time. And due to that lengthy time span, I'm giving you today an explanation of the process for naturalization and the courts that oversaw the process, because that is going to be helpful to you when you're using this collection. The process had requirement changes over those years, and the courts had jurisdictional and name changes many, many times. The naturalization process before 1906 for adult immigrants had this step first. They had to file a declaration of intention, and these were the basic requirements. They had to have good moral character, a 1-year residency in the state where filing, and a 2-year residency in the United States. A waiting period between the declaration of intention filing and step 2, filing a petition for citizenship, was 3 years during 1790 to 1824, and then it became 2 years for that waiting period after 1824. Step 2 is to file a petition for citizenship. This could be filed in the exact same court as the declaration of intention, or it could be filed in a different court, a different state, but it can be taken care of after that waiting period. In the earlier years before 1906, citizenship could be granted by municipal, county, state, or federal courts. The petition usually included depositions from witnesses, and those witnesses could be friends, neighbors, employers, family, or associates. Those witnesses had to attest for the immigrant's good character. Step 3 is to take an oath of allegiance to the United States of America. And I will have a screen that will show you the oath of allegiance. And then step 4, receive a certificate of naturalization, which was recorded by the court. That is a very simple process. This was before 1906. For adult immigrants is what we're talking about. There are other processes for women and children, and that is not part of the collection today that we're discussing. We're doing the naturalizations before 1906 and after 1906 for adult immigrants. Typical data in the naturalization papers before 1906, it's not long. The person's name, residence, application date, country of birth or prior allegiance. Possibly in a few times you might find an age, and possibly you might find a port of arrival. So the list isn't very long for the typical data before 1906. Here is a copy of a Declaration of Intention from 1880. You can see that this doesn't have hardly anything. It does tell you that Giuseppe Maci has a declaration to become a citizen of the United States of America, and he's going to renounce forever all allegiance and fidelity to all and any foreign everything, and his main one particularly, it says, to the King of Italy. And this was the 13th day of May in 1880. So there isn't a lot of information. You have the name. You know that basically he would have been in Italy. And you know that in 1880, when this declaration was filed, he was in the state of California in the Superior Court in and for the county of Amador. 1906 was a wonderful year for the naturalization process because this is what happened in 1906. There were updated laws. There is a newly created Bureau of Immigration and Naturalization, and they standardized the forms. Before 1906, the forms varied, like the one that we just saw. Didn't have all of the information that you could get in another place. So in 1906, standardized forms, Bureau of Immigration and Naturalization, and updated laws. The new standardized form data, look at this beautiful list. It is amazing when you can get to the ones that etched into that 1906 new laws. They had to let go of what they had been using before. But at that time, there would be a name, an age, an application date, a residence, a birth date and place, the last foreign address, marital status, names of wife and children, birth date and place for wife and children, port and date of arrival, vessel and port of embarkation, occupation, where and when declaration of intention was filed, and witness affidavits. As a genealogist, you look at the possibility of finding even a portion of this information for an immigrant, and it is wonderful. I can tell you that not every form has all of this information. I haven't seen one that has every bit of it, but a lot of them have a good portion of it. This is an index card in the MyHeritage collection. for Frida Rachel Greenberg. And if you will look down at the bottom above her signature, it says name changed from Frida Rachel Greenberg. This is common when you have someone coming into the U.S. and they are being naturalized with an anglicized name. It is not the spelling that was in their home country. And so this particular card, she made sure that her name was Frida Rachel Greenberg instead of the spelling from her home country. This is good information, and it can really help you as you go back to that home country for research. This is a declaration of intention from 1921. It's for Ernest Alfred Keenest. Basically, it has most of the information, and it tells you, I was born in Solican, Switzerland on the 11th of January, 1891, and I now reside at Berkeley, California. This is amazing. It tells you that he arrived in New York in August the 13th of 1921. So he was filing a declaration shortly after arrival. His petition for citizenship is 1928. So that's quite a number of years later. I have enlarged this so that you can see. Ernest Alfred Keenest, his residence is now in Oakland. And look at the occupation. This is the second question, which are on the left-hand side. You'll see first, second, third, fourth, and so forth, the questions. His occupation is quartermaster clerk for the U.S. Army. So he is a soldier. Here's his birth date, birthplace, and it even says he was born in Germany of Swiss parents and that he immigrated to the United States from Havre, France. And basically, this is one that has great information. There's even additional information on when he entered the military or naval service. That was December 19th, 1922 on the bottom right. Do you see where you could get other records just because of the information in this petition? The middle part is questions 7 through 10. The seventh is talking about his membership or affiliation with any organization or body of persons that are opposed to organized government. And he is going to give an oath of allegiance now to the United States, where his previous oath was to the Swiss Confederation. The bottom part is the affidavits of the petitioner and witnesses, and the witnesses have signed their names. So this is basically his two witnesses. You can see their name, Herbert Hans, who is a chief engineer, and John W. Burkfield, who is a civil engineer. So those would be associates. The oath of allegiance that he signed has his signature and date in 1928. That is the type of record that you get from an after 1906 petition for citizenship. I even found a declaration of intention, 1940, that has a photo of the immigrant. So another treasure that could be found by following through with finding a person of interest in the card index collection and then searching for those original documents. Vivi Elizabeth Johnson index card has her physical address on it. So I did a Google search. I found the address. It's 4930 3rd Street in San Francisco. She was 38 years of age in 1942. And where she lived was that apartment right in the middle in the center above a beauty salon. And it was quite large. It had 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. That is a good size apartment. So basically, you can even find an ancestor and their place of residence with data that comes from the MyHeritage collection. The Bureau of Immigration and Naturalization name was later changed to the Immigration and Naturalization Service, better known as the INS. But in March of 2004, this particular organization was renamed the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, known today as USCIS. MyHeritage's card index collection contains naturalizations in circuit courts in Northern California, 1852 to 1989. The circuit courts and the years covered in the collection are Special Circuit Court, 1855 to 1863, 10th Circuit Court, 1863 to 1866, 9th Circuit Court for the District of California, 1866 to 1886, and Circuit Court for the Northern District of California, 1886 to 1911. Information on these courts can be found in the National Archives and Records Administration publication M1744. This information is definitely in the handout syllabus. The James R. Browning United States Courthouse in 1906. This building was just completed almost a year when this photo was taken. It was very expensive for the time period, but a beautiful and historic building. It would have been probably something that most of the immigrants had never seen. The inside of this building is exquisite, with marble woodwork that is just carved in furnishings, trim, everything that is exquisite. So if you would like to see the inside, there are many photographs, even Getty images on the internet. This is the front entrance from today, and I can tell you that this was the U.S. Circuit Court for the Northern District of California until it was abolished in 1912. So those who were naturalized would have been on the inside of this building up to and through 1911. This was the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California until 1962. Did you see the difference in the courts? From the first was the circuit court, and then it was a district court. This building survived the 1906 earthquake, probably because it was brand new. The building was heavily damaged in the 1989 earthquake, and over the next 7 years after that earthquake, it received site retrofitting, updating, restoration, and a 45,000 square foot addition. It reopened as the U.S. Court of Appeals building for the Ninth Circuit in October of 1996. And yes, it is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. MyHeritage Card Index collection contains naturalizations in district courts in California. So the first were the circuit courts. Now these are the district courts. Same number of years, 1852 to 1989. Northern District of California, 1852 to 1916. The Southern Division of the Northern District, 1917 to 1966. The Northern District, 1966 to 1973. And the Northern Division of the Northern District, 1973 to 1989. These dates are important if you're looking for where the ancestor or person of interest was naturalized. The Philip Burton Federal Building and United States Courthouse is a more modern structure. It has 21 floors and the whole thing covers an entire city block. It was built in 1964. It is the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California and is currently one of 4 courthouses for the Northern District of California. To find original naturalization records, use the information in MyHeritage's Card Index collection to search for the original records. The National Archives at San Francisco has California naturalization records, which includes those in this collection. You can search online by state, which will narrow the number of results to a usable amount. Online websites have many indexes and collections. For naturalizations granted by state and those lower courts like a municipal court or a county court, records may be found in a state or county archive, library, or historical society. For naturalizations granted by a federal court, records may be found in the National Archives or branches serving the state in which the federal court is located. In our case, for this collection, that's the state of California. Copies can be purchased from the National Archives or branches if a file is located for the requested person. This is nice to know. The copies of the Certificate of Naturalization, that very last step, is not available from NARA because those copies went to the actual immigrant and to the Immigration and Naturalization Service. The National Archives, and I put this in as a please note, they indicate that no central index exists for naturalization records. And that is correct. They don't have one, but there are small indexes for collections, much like this one that is on MyHeritage. And when you search online, you may be able to find a piece of another collection or other naturalization records. But the National Archives does not have a central index that covers all naturalization records. This is the website homepage for the National Archives at San Francisco, California. You can see that its operating status is open. This is important. Research visits are by appointment only. If you would like to request an appointment or schedule a virtual consultation prior to your visit, you can email sanbruno.archives@nara.gov. They do have a frequently asked questions that you can get answers. And in the event of inclement weather, researchers with an appointment will be contacted by the research room staff. On the left-hand side, it tells you that This particular branch of the National Archives holds permanent records created by federal agencies and courts in the following areas. Number 1, California, Northern and Central, and that is what concerns us today, is this Northern California collection of naturalization records. So the originals would be available at the branch for the National Archives at San Francisco. Now, when you look at the address, you will see that it's the Leo J. Ryan Memorial Federal Building, 1000 Commodore Drive in San Bruno, California. And that does have the phone number, a fax number, an email, and this is also important. They require the appointment to be able to get access to that branch. But it says we will respond to requests within 10 business days of their receipt. So it may take up to 2 weeks to get that appointment. If you're planning to go there, start early. Searching the MyHeritage's U.S. Naturalizations, Northern California, 1852 to 1989 collection. From the home page, you're going to click on Research, and there will be a drop-down menu. Immediately, you just click on Collection Catalog. Under Collection Catalog, you're going to click on Immigration and Travel. Scroll down to click on Citizenship, Passport, and Naturalization, and then scroll down to click on U.S. Naturalizations, Northern California. So let's see what that looks like. This is the home page. You can see Research all the way to the right. That's where you start. Click on Research. And in that drop-down menu, you're going to get to Collection Catalog. From Collection Catalog, look all the way down at the bottom. And I have been in and out of this Collection Catalog for quite a bit in the last few days. And Immigration and Travel has never been really close to the top. So scroll down until you find Immigration and Travel. Then you go from Immigration and Travel to Citizenship, Passport, and Naturalization. And this, you must scroll down probably halfway to U.S. naturalization records that are the collection of interest today. That is how you get into these records on the MyHeritage website. All of that information is in the handout syllabus. This is the search box for the collection. It doesn't have a lot of categories, but it does have name, and you can put a first or a middle name or both in there. Last name, year for birth, place, year for naturalization, and a place. That's it. So I did quite a number of searches to show you the different options you can use and let you know how many results you get. So the first thing I did was searching by a first name only, and I just chose Frida. There is nothing else filled in the search box but a first name. If you look at that top sentence, it says it's showing 1 through 20 of 667 results for Frida in that collection. The first one is Frida Amstutz. She was born in 1899 and naturalized in 1956 in San Francisco. This is Frida's index card. You will see it does show her address, 150 25th Avenue, San Francisco. Her date of birth, the date of order of admission, and the date the certificate, that is the certificate of naturalization, was issued, July 10th, 1956. This is the information of where that certificate was issued. The U.S. District Court at San Francisco. And it gives you a petition number and also an alien registration number, which could lead you to additional records. Searching by last name only and the results. If you'll see in the search box at the top, I entered the last name of Montoya, and in the middle showing 1 to 20 of 236 results for Montoya in the collection. Bertha was the first one. She was born in 1935 and naturalized in 1971 in San Francisco. Here is Bertha's index card. Again, she lived at 205 Mariposa Avenue, but not in San Francisco. It's a different city in California. Her date of birth, October 27th, 1935. The order of admission was 1971, certificate issued 1971. U.S. District Court, San Francisco, petition number and alien registration number. Searching by birth year only. Why would I want to do that? Well, maybe it's the only information I have about my ancestor, and I don't know if he used his foreign name and the way it was spelled. I'm not really sure about that. And I'm not sure if he changed his name or anglicized his foreign name, what that would be, and it's a really unusual name. Putting all of those things aside, the only thing I really knew was his year of birth, so I just put a year of birth in, and I wanted to see what came up with just a year of birth so I could demonstrate it for you. Okay, 4 results for people born in 1864 are in the collection. Here are the first 3. Genshi Chin, birth 1864, naturalized 1955, San Francisco. Let's check it out. Here is the index card. 90 years old when naturalized, and if you look at the birth, June 5th, 1864, the certificate was issued on April 19th, 1955. So this immigrant was almost 91 years old when they were naturalized. In the U.S. District Court at San Francisco, there is a petition number, an alien registration number, and the signature in Chinese characters. I found a copy of the original petition for citizenship from this 1955 naturalizations. It says, Genshi Chen, nay, maiden name is Gen. 90 years old, lived at 1020 Stockton Street in San Francisco. She is a housewife. That's the occupation. And she states that basically she was from China, and she gives the actual village. Then she lists the children and where they were born. And down at the bottom, you will see there's also any time that a trip required her to leave San Francisco. It is listed from San Francisco, down at the bottom left, April 22nd, 1922, gives the name of the ship, and then February 23rd, 1934, and November the 1st, 1935. And then children that were two more that were born in Willows, California. The second part of this petition shows basically when the signature was listed in 1919, and again with the Chinese characters. Okay, how about searching by place? And I just put in Oakland, and it does not specify. I wanted somebody who was born in Oakland. This also has somebody who was naturalized in Oakland. So they weren't born in Oakland. The place refers to the naturalization. This is Ernest Alfred Keenest. And you will see that there are 40 results for naturalizations in Oakland. Here is his index card. It shows that basically his order of admission was 1928. Declaration of intention was 1921. He is not married and has no children. Not as much information as a lot of the other cards from the time period, but basically this was a superior court, not a district court. Searching now on the bottom left for only the year of naturalization. No names, no birth year, no birthplace, and no place of naturalization. I just want to search the entire collection for anyone who was naturalized in the first year of the collection. John Doherty, Great Britain, 1852, San Francisco. Julio Gonzalez Carvalho, 1852. Doesn't say on this first little result. Joseph Dreyer, Prussia, naturalization, it says 1852, San Francisco. So let's check out this information for the very first year. John Doherty's card shows it is, and if you look at the capital letters that are hard to read, but on the right-hand side, it says the title and location of court. The U.S. Circuit Court in San Francisco was the court. Country of birth or allegiance was Great Britain and Ireland, and the date of naturalization was April 24th, 1852. Look at the names of the witnesses. One is Edward Ewald, and the second is George Doherty, probably a relative. Those were the ones who would attest to good moral character. Here is Julio's card. How about this? July 14th, 1852, and this is everything that is in the card index. It has the petition number. So you have the date, July 14th, 1852, and you have the petition number, and you have his name. And you could still search for original records with just this minimal information. Joseph Dreyer index card, U.S. District Court, San Francisco. Country of birth, Prussia. Witnesses, J.S. Rosenberg and H. Falkenstein. Date of naturalization, July 2nd, but instead of being 1852 in that result, the actual card index says 1858. So once in a while there are errors like that. You can see that the certificate number is recorded in that district court in San Francisco in volume 4, page 1156. Another piece to finding an original record if you want to get them. Searching by full name, Edla Marie Johnson, Johnson is common, but Edla Marie is not. And there are 2 listings here with the same information: naturalized 1927, San Francisco. Everything is identical. So I checked both the index cards. The index cards are identical. They are right next to each other, and it looks like they are filmed as a duplicate. This has additional information on the index card showing 3 minor children: Ivan 8, Harold 4, and Inez 1. Finding naturalization clues in the census. These are the census years that have clues you can use to find naturalizations. 1820, 30, and 40 list foreigners not naturalized. 1850 to 1950, birthplace of the individual. 1870 tells you if a person's father or mother was foreign-born. 1880 to 1930 lists the birthplace of the person's parents. 1900 to 1930 has the year of immigration. 1920 has the year of naturalization. 1940 has the citizenship of foreign-born persons. 1900 to 1940 has naturalization status, and what it gives you is whether they are naturalized or alien. I found Ernest Alfred Keenest in the 1940 census. Here he is. He's living in the household of William and Rose, who are husband and wife. They were born in California. And here is Ernest at the bottom, who is a lodger. He's 49 years old. He is single. And this is interesting. That C3 after his name means that he has completed 3 years of college. And also over to the right, the very far right, it tells you right before the word same house, it says NA for naturalized. So there's our Ernest Alfred Keenest. Naturalization ceremonies today. What do you need for a naturalization ceremony? Well, in the early years, you needed the court, the judge, and the flag. And guess what you need today? You have to have a court, a judge, and a flag. Today, these ceremonies are under the auspices of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and the court and the Citizenship and Immigration Services partner with the National Park Service, with libraries and museums for ceremonies today. This is the logo for the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and you can see that that is part of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. I found in a news release from the Timpanogos Cave National Monument, September 2023, the news release for a naturalization ceremony to be held at Timpanogos Cave. Well, this is located in my area, and it's not too far from my home. I live on a mountain bench just a little bit above a valley, and the mountains are to the east, but they're highly visible because my house has an elevation of 4,500 feet above sea level, and the mountains here go up to over 10,000 feet above sea level. So I sit about halfway up. And when I saw this, I thought, Well, how wonderful that there's a naturalization ceremony within driving distance. This was part of the news release. It says USCIS often participates in naturalization ceremonies at museums, libraries, and national parks to celebrate the conclusion of an immigrant's journey to citizenship and honor the commitment they've shown along the way. Special venues not only make these events meaningful for those who have chosen to participate in American democracy and dedicate themselves to the country's future, but they also reflect the spirit of the United States. As I read that in the news release, I thought, I'm going. This is Mount Timpanogos, a view from the east side. This is a screenshot of the road, and right there in the middle is that Mount Timpanogos Natural Cave Monument. It's a windy road. It's up in steep terrain. There isn't anything else around there, so it's sort of remote. But I decided to go anyway. This was the September morning in the Utah mountaintops. Absolutely gorgeous. When you get there, you're greeted by the National Park Service, Timpanogos Cave National Monument. And it was a crisp fall morning. You can see here are 41 people from 24 different countries patiently waiting for the naturalization ceremony to begin, along with their families and other guests. If you look at their faces, the ones that are in the forefront on those first two rows, but the people to be naturalized go all the way back to what you can visualize on this left-hand side. They're contemplating what is going to happen, sort of somber. And I want you to remember that first picture of what I saw when I got to the ceremony. This is Judge Justin B. Peed and DAR representatives. That's the Daughters of the American Revolution. It's a local chapter here in this area. And the DAR has prepared parting gifts for each of the new citizens. They have nice sized flags and a small brochure with a few treats. So what we have is district court in the mountains. Here is the program. The naturalization ceremony shows that U.S. Magistrate Judge Justin B. Peed is presiding. The location is Timpanogos Cave National Monument. The date was September 20th, 2023. The first thing that occurs is the opening of court. And yes, the first thing that came to your mind was what I experienced is all rise. So everybody stood up and the judge came in. There were introductory remarks and a pledge of allegiance by the park manager from the National Monument. The national anthem was sung by a cave research specialist. He played the guitar and sang. There were remarks by the superintendent of Timpanogos Cave National Monument. This is, you can see her, she's in the front, but I was in the very back because all of the new citizens to be and their families were in front of me. But you can see that the flags is right there for the Pledge of Allegiance. And everyone stood and recited without having anything to tell you what to say, including those new citizens. It was not in the program. The national anthem also had the words in the program. And when I looked at this, I thought to myself, wow, I've never really noticed this before. As I have sung the national anthem, I know the words, so I've never really looked at just the printed words, but it was in the program for the benefit of the new citizens. And if you look at this, it begins with, "Oh, say, can you see?" And you scroll down 4 lines to the far right, and you'll see that those 4 lines are a question. Can you see? And then you go the next 4 lines, and it says, "Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Or the land of the free and the home of the brave?" Question mark. And I thought, yeah, we need to remember that's a question. Can we see it? Do we know what it really means? The remarks by the National Park Service Superintendent had a lot to do with the journey of these new citizens and what they will encounter and experience and what makes our country great. The next part of the program, the first thing was my very favorite. It's called Call of Countries and Motion for Naturalization. The Call of Countries was this. This supervisor of the Immigration Services officer, Darren Nelson, named a country, and anyone from that country who was being naturalized got to stand up. And he went through all 24 countries. Then once they had the Call of Countries and it was completed, then the order granting the motion for naturalization was issued by Judge Pete. The administration of the Oath of Allegiance was done by Deborah Iyer from the U.S. District Court, District of Utah. Then there were remarks by the new citizens, almost 10 of them. They shared their journey after their Oath of Allegiance. This is the full Oath of Allegiance, and it is available in the original Naturalization Petition of Citizenship. It's the last thing that they sign. This is the Oath of Allegiance for 2023, and I was finding most of this in those natural records all the way back to mid-1900s. You can look this up and find a copy online. The Oath of Allegiance, you'll see all of the new citizens to be at this moment with their hands raised. And of course, they answered yes. This is one of the new citizens who shared his citizenship journey. He mentioned the song by Lee Greenwood about America and what it means. He said, "Because I heard this song, and there was a sentence that said, if I had to start over with just my children and my wife," and he said, "That's me, and that's my wife today." So his was an emotional journey, but very wonderful to be able to share the journeys of almost 10 of these new citizens that I didn't know, and they were allowed to be speakers at this ceremony. Judge Pede welcomed the new citizens and guests, and he provided congratulatory remarks. Then the new citizens lined up to receive their certificates of naturalization and parting gifts. If you look in this photo, sort of to the right, you'll see that there are red bags that you can see in the background in these pictures. Those are the parting gifts that were given to each new citizen by the National Park Service Rangers. The new United States citizens received the certificate from a USCIS officer, and I noticed that these women that were sort of towards the end of the line had the biggest smiles on their faces, and how different from that first photo that I took earlier when I first arrived, and everyone was somber, contemplative, patiently waiting, but now here it is, and they're getting their certificate of naturalization right here, and look at the difference in the smile on their face. She is really glowing and happy, you can tell. She's happy and excited, and she's happy. And the one in front of her is still smiling when she's shaking hands with the park ranger. After they get their certificates, the line continues so that there's photo opportunities with Judge Pede. And then there are photos with the judge, and they could have their own families come up too. The one who was naturalized is the mother in this family, and she has a beautiful smile. What a wonderful day for 41 new citizens. And what a memorable place. I wholeheartedly agreed with USCIS that having a naturalization ceremony at a memorable place like Mount Timpanogos that you can barely see in the background in this photograph was a wonderful idea. I thank you for attending the webinar. If you want to contact me, my email is jensearchandmore@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon. Now, despite it being an index instead of having the documents, it actually seems like there's quite a bit of information in those indexes. And
well, you can see how before 1906 there is less, but even just with the one card that only had a name and it had a petition number and it had a date, there are plenty of opportunities online to search with just that information.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting is you can actually search by those fields. In a lot of databases, you can't, search by these more obscure things like naturalization year or naturalization place, but you can actually do that, which gives it a lot of flexibility.
Well, I was amazed that I could just search by a first name only. A first name. That's nothing. And come up with people that have an index card. And if I'm looking for someone with a name that I'm not sure about, if I scroll down through all of those results, if I see something that sounds like what I'm looking for, I probably have my person. Mm-hmm. And so basically it opens up the options for searching with minimal information.
Right. Now, hopefully you won't have to search by first name, but in combination with either birth year or immigration year, naturalization date, something like that, hopefully that would get you to it.
Oh, you'll go directly to your person.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying, if you have minimal information, don't be afraid to look for something when you don't really know a lot. Mm-hmm. It makes a big difference. And so when I read the statement from the National Archives that said no central index exists, I'm going, yeah, it doesn't. But guess what? Websites like MyHeritage have collections like this that have been indexed. And so that helps you out. Mm-hmm. And like on the one card, there was even a reference to the volume and page where it's recorded at the county level. Mm-hmm. That was one of those earlier ones. So you might have to go to a county archive, a state archive, or an online for them Many of them have their records online today. And so basically, the card index on MyHeritage opens up many possibilities, even when you have minimal information. If you have good information, you just zip right to it. And it's fun. And like with finding the house where somebody lived, 75 years ago, and finding an address that you can pull up a map and see where it was when it's far across the country from where you live, you get a connection with that ancestor. When you read about their oath of allegiance and who it was to, basically that's going to give you that connection with the place of birth in a foreign country. So possibilities come from a small white card.
And let's not forget the original signature, like the man who wrote his name in Chinese. That was pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, and even in that petition, it stated that his language was English, but he signed with the characters. So little things like that make genealogy research fun. And it makes it a treasure when you find something like the petition with a signature, with the information, with the names of children and when they were born and where, when it's in China. And when you see that even at almost 91 years old, someone is getting naturalized.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing naturalization card. Well, Sharon, I'm going to do the announcements and the door prize, and then I'll bring you on. I have a couple questions here, so sit tight for a few minutes, and we'll be right back with Sharon. So all 25 classes are available through September 31st. Well, all the classes from previous weeks are available through the 31st. The classes from today, given that this is only September 29th, we're going to keep these ones open until October 6th. So today's classes are free for the next week through October 6th. So if you missed any of the earlier ones today, you can still check them out. It will take, they might not be the last three. The first two classes are already up online. I saw Jeff already put them up, but since I've been hosting these last three webinars, I'm not sure when I'm going to get them up, but they will definitely be up by Monday. If you have a webinar membership, of course, you can access these classes whenever you like, 24/7, even after October 6th. We do have a coupon code, September 23, if you want to get 20% off a new membership. And that, again, is also only good through tomorrow night. We do have more naturalization record webinars in the Legacy Library. We've got 3 more: Finding Answers in Naturalization Records, Navigating Naturalization Records, and Martha Ben-Shura, Enemy Alien. So this is looking at women in relation to naturalization because of the way the laws changed in regards to women. So all of those are found at familytreewebinars.com/naturalization. You can see more webinars by Sharon in the Legacy Library. We've got one on Idaho, find a boatload of passenger lists on MyHeritage. That one is available for free. No Will, No Problem, America's Ethnic Settlements, the Court Records, and easily read old-style American handwriting. So you can find these at familytreewebinars.com/Sharon Monson. Our door prize this hour is a MyHeritage DNA kit. And the MyHeritage DNA kit gives you 2 basic sections. It gives you the ethnicity report, which tells you like where your ancestry is from, whether you're Irish or Egyptian or Native American, whatever. And then the other side are your DNA matches, and these are your DNA cousins. And so we are going to pick somebody from our live audience, and this kit is going to go out to Ralph Edwards. So congratulations, Ralph. I will be emailing you today with information on how you can get your DNA kit. And again, we have the coupon code WebTember23 for 20% off. Only 1 day left to take advantage of this. It expires, by the computers. All this stuff is set up in the computer, and it just expires automatically at the end of the day tomorrow. So take advantage of it before the deadline comes. All right, we have a couple questions here for Sharon. First question from Nancy. How do you recommend searching for someone with a common name like James Murphy from Ireland?
Well, basically, if you have any other information, like the birth year, to go with the Ireland, that will really narrow that search. And if you know a place for either, for that naturalization, that will really narrow it because you can search by state. Mm-hmm. In other words, you can just make it where it's going to be U.S., California to get through this collection. Or if you're searching for that person anywhere, the best thing that you can do is to filter and get it down to the smallest number of results. Because you will notice that I had a full name for a person named Edla Marie Johnson. So the last name was Johnson. But because I had the first and the middle names, and the first was her Americanized Edla, it was so much easier. And I got the two results, which were duplicate cards, and they came up in about 2 seconds. If it was just Johnson, there would have been even more than the one result that I had that was 667 results. Mm-hmm. Try to keep it down under 500 because that's a lot of things to go through. But mm-hmm. 500 is doable. And with a name like John Murphy from Ireland, if it was some of the earlier records, like, you're going to get a large influx after gold was just discovered in 1848 and after silver was discovered in 1859. And so if it's after that particular time period, then you have a better chance of filtering with just a little tiny bit of something else to go with John Murphy. One thing that you could do is list an event, date, and place. In other words, maybe the residence that you know where a person lived. There's at least a county and a state. That is usually down at the bottom. You can put in something that's just an additional little filter, and it will narrow those results for you. But I agree, sometimes our ancestors have names that just blow you away, and I'll tell you exactly how. I submitted all of the paperwork to become a member of the DAR using an ancestor that actually needed a lot of data corrected because there was misinformation in the previous files for him in the DAR records. So I used my ancestor from the Revolutionary War. His name was John Smith, and his wife's name was Mary. So basically, hang in there. It can be done. Just with a little more. Get creative in what you're thinking about, what you know, and just put one other little thing in there, and sometimes that will really do it for you.
All right. Patricia is asking, could a name legally be changed at naturalization prior to 1906? Now, you gave the example of that woman, Frida.
Yes.
Now, was her name changed? Where was her name exactly changed? Was it?
It had to be in that court because it says name changed. Now, they could spell their name any way they wanted to by putting it in that petition for citizenship or their declaration of intention. But that card said name changed. So the first place to look for that name that was changed is that court where the citizenship was granted.
Okay.
They may have a separate file on her name change.
So do you know, so Patricia's asking particularly about 1906.
Well, what you can do is go into any online genealogy website that has court records from the place in California where that person was naturalized. And you go in and you look for the actual court records and search by date. And they usually have an index in the front of the volumes, probably on microfilm, but a lot of those films have been digitized. So just use what you would normal online genealogy websites, including MyHeritage, to search for court records.
Okay, great. And that was Jane's question, too. She's asking about original documents. Do you have any sense for how many of these naturalization records are digitized versus you have to get them from courthouses?
Okay. If you have one that is in one of those lower courts and it has on the index card the volume page where it's recorded, that's a regular court record. And a lot of the counties have digitized their records and they put them online. So you could go through it through the direction of searching the court record just with the information on the index card. Okay. If you wanted to get into the naturalization record originals, basically you could also try sites that have digitized records and put them online. There's a World Records Project or anything like that would be available, and you just have to play around with it. Mm-hmm. But do your normal searches that you do to find out information. There are a lot of places to look for information, and you want to cover a broad amount of sites. In other words, don't just stick with one thing like a court record. Recognize that this is also a naturalization record, and it's also an immigration record. I mentioned that there was an alien registration number on those cards. There are also alien registration records. And so basically, you just have to look at all of the possibilities for finding those records before, if you could make a trip to San Francisco where the originals are, that's great, or they allow you to pay them to do the research. It is expensive, but I have always considered original documents like this to be worth more than gold or silver because sometimes it's the only place you can find the information that you need for your ancestor. So get creative. Just think about what you know and think about where those records might be, because they're not just in one place. They're in a bunch of places.
Okay. Well, Sharon, this has been a terrific overview of these California naturalization records. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We have come to the end of our webinar and the end of our Webtember series. What a great month it has been. You can find all the replays, as I mentioned earlier, at familytreewebinars.com/Webtember. The previous replays are available through the end of tomorrow. And then, of course, today's webinars will be available for the extra week through October 6th. Thanks so much to MyHeritage for sponsoring these special Webtember events, and thanks to all our speakers for their fabulous presentations. Thanks to my co-host, Jeff Rasmussen, for his hard work organizing the event and hosting the live broadcast. And finally, thanks to our audience who are here with us every step of the way on our genealogical journey. Remember, life is short. Do genealogy first. Goodbye, everyone.